All right, so our next session starts in about a minute. It's Little Big Brand Strategies, and it's going to be a fireside chat session between Max and Jessica. Max, if you want to go ahead and unmute your mic, and Jessica, are you with us? Because maybe I missed you in the audience.
I'm
Hey,
here.
yeah, we're here.
Awesome. Yes. I was a little worried there, Jessica. I'm not gonna lie to you. I must have skipped your name, and I was freaking out a little bit. I was sending an email or two. So, all right, let's jump right into it. So, for those in the audience who don't know who Max is, he's actually the CEO and co-founder of the CMO Pure Talks community and PromoRepublic. So he has dedicated his career to transforming the engagement between multi-location brands, franchisees, and local communities with breakthrough marketing technology. His mission is to drive franchise growth through the synergy of community and tech. Is that about right, Max? I read that for the people in the audience who might be illiterate. Just kidding. It's a
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot, Matthew. You're doing a great job moderating the conference, and thanks for the introduction. Yeah, indeed, we are on a mission to provide a stage for experience exchange, because we think it de-risks and helps franchises grow, and also makes franchisees succeed at a faster pace, and also de-risks them because they're entrepreneurs. And obviously we also help with innovative technology, marketing technology, developing
Very
our
good. And your speaker is going to be Jessica Serrano, head of marketing at Dig. Do you want to introduce yourself, or Max, do you want to introduce her?
Yeah, Jessica, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, happy to. So Dig is a company-owned restaurant concept based in the Northeast. We have 32 locations. But prior to leading marketing at Dig, I've worked in a couple of traditional QSR concepts, including Burger King and Taco Bell. So happy to be here and share my experience kind of across both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, thanks a lot for joining, and thanks a lot for being open to share the experience that you got in this amazing career. So here's really short the agenda, at least the planned one. I think we could go in more depth, and we could have some additional questions from the audience, but that's at least the initial plan. And of course, we wanna learn from you, and especially because our fireside chat is called a Little Big Brand Strategy. So you have experience with both now. And I want to just kick it off with the first question. And as a marketing leader, having those different perspectives, managing marketing for a brand with I don't know, 8 billion in revenues with a B or something like that, with thousands of locations, and now helping, and how you approach local marketing at that level, with that of a size of an organization, and what is the biggest shift? So how do you approach marketing now, being more hands-on and being closer to those to locations of your current challenge? So please double click on that.
Yeah, certainly. So the biggest shift, simply put, is budget. So when a brand has, 10 billion in revenue and a marketing fund funded by franchisors in the hundreds of millions of dollars, you certainly have a lot of options. And in large franchise organizations like those, local store marketing is really relegated at the franchise level, and corporate is really, creating toolkits and assets to help support that. But a lot of that expertise is left up to the operators. And so, shifting into a brand at a smaller scale and earlier in its inception, I really had to come to appreciate what it is that franchisors are expected to do when it comes to opening new restaurants. And so, Dig was founded in 2011. Whereas I came from brands that were founded in the 60s and have, decades of household awareness that they've built nationally and even globally. So to now be working in a brand in its infancy, I had to really learn how to build that awareness in a way that was really boots on the ground. And so I feel like I've grown so much as a marketer in my ability to figure out how to break through with smaller budget. So, one of the things that has been interesting in my time at Dig is the majority of our locations are in Manhattan, and so we have pretty decent awareness in our core market. Our concept lends itself really well to young professionals that are working in the city and are looking for an affordable meal that they can kind of come down from their office and enjoy. And that made a lot more sense pre-COVID. With COVID, a lot of those folks moved remotely, and we had to kind of not only evolve our brand strategy, but also our real estate strategy into more suburban markets. So I found myself opening 3 new states in a matter of 6 weeks. And I will tell you that opening, the 19th Dig in Manhattan is much easier than opening the first in Connecticut or the first in New Jersey or the first in DC, where people aren't familiar with the brand at all. And I'd say one of the biggest things I've learned when it comes to new restaurant openings is to not just think of it as a day. It really does come down to having kind of a pre-opening strategy, opening, and then even post, because it doesn't end once you open the doors for the first time.
Got it. So, and did you expect that, or you had to react immediately when the challenges of the new openings like popped up? So, did you have to adjust on the go, or did you learn it the hard way, or you were kind of prepared for that type of
I'd say I definitely learned it the hard way. And in some ways, opening those 3 new markets was a little bit like Goldilocks in that, one, I'd say we got just right. One was way off, and one was kind of almost there. And so I've had to learn how much site selection and competitive set, like no 2 openings is the same because of all the different market conditions. So I definitely had ones where we opened and we ran out of food because it was so successful, and then other ones that we didn't quite get it right and had to really focus on that post opening strategy. So it's been a lot of trial and error. Yeah.
Thanks for admitting that, because it's important to understand that things can go not as planned. And you also mentioned opened those locations in states where the awareness was not so big. So how could you transfer this value proposition, and how did you kind of shorten the period to make sure people understand as fast as possible what is it so special about Dig?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I did was we did focus on the pre-period. So, for example, when we opened in Stamford, Connecticut, we opened in April, but in the months prior, we worked with the landlord to do a pop-up in the parking lot, and we gave away free produce. And so we just, popped up one Saturday. I hired a face painter, put some balloons up, and we just invited people to stop by, and we sent them home with a tote bag with produce. And it allowed us to start having conversation with folks in the market around, well, what is Dig? And, at the time we were very farm to table focused. And so we were kind of showcasing our farmers by giving away free produce. And it helped to start planting seeds with people in the community that we were coming. And a lot of that dialogue helped us to learn who the folks were in the community, and it helped us to get smarter and prep for that opening. Influencers, I know that term gets thrown around a lot, but there really is value in finding who are the folks, even on a micro level. We're not talking about, influencers with millions of followers, but a person with even 2,000 followers who's focused on Stanford new restaurant openings as their niche can be really powerful person to connect with. And so what we did was we had a dinner and we invited them to come in and we fed them. And it really got that, FOMO drumming up, so that then by the time we were opening the doors, there was a line of folks who were excited and ready to come in and try it. So a big part of building that awareness is not waiting until the day that you're ready to open your doors to start building that relationship with the community. We also talked a lot to our neighbors. So really just even going into the local businesses and saying, hey, we're Dig, we're opening in the shopping center down the street. We learned a lot from them. And we've also found that other operators, businesses are excited when new business is coming into their market. And it just helps them to also kind of spread the word and start pushing people into your locations as well. So I think the weeks prior to the opening is really critical to drumming up some of that anticipation.
Yeah, so it's of course like different understanding on the level of Burger King. Of course, an influencer with 2,000 followers is nothing, but here you go hyper local, so you have the time to go into depth and to understand the context more and how the opinion is built in that specific community, and then of course you can do like a more thoughtful and more connected launch in a way, and with that like connect with the local customers like faster and through the channels
Totally.
go comfortable for them. I think we're already covering the second question about those local marketing tactics. Thanks for switching the slide for us. And how do you think it's I think even opening the first store in a definite state, it's kind of sets the standards for the future stores there. And
Yeah,
so the importance of making things right and creating the real experience inside the store, and also the communications around it is important. And
definitely.
did you have like experience of the second store opening in the new state? Is it then easier when you have already one running?
Yes, yeah. I think I definitely in hindsight, I really highly recommend kind of going a little bit deeper in fewer markets than spreading really thin because it was really challenging. So this year I've been really excited that we've been focusing on opening in markets where we already have a presence. So we did open Georgetown, DC last year, and then this year we opened our second in what they call the DMV area in Bethesda. And it really helped to now kind of have a story that is, hey, this is a market that we want to build deeper roots into. So I definitely have felt the ease of focusing on, opening second and third in one community, as opposed to coming into multiple communities with one location.
Yeah, that's encouraging. So it becomes easier at some point until you go for the new market, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely think new markets are even more challenging for sure.
Gotcha. Okay, so if anyone has additional questions on the local marketing strategies, please post them in the chat. And now we're moving from local marketing, hyper local marketing tactics to the use of tech and marketing technology. So in your experience of working in the companies in the companies, multi-location companies of different sizes, so what is the difference in what role MarTech played, and how is there a difference how you use and how you select
Yeah,
technology stack in these different organizations?
definitely. Yeah. So, Taco Bell is a part of Yum Brands. Burger King is a part of Restaurant Brands International. When you talk about these multi-brand conglomerates, they often have shared services because they have multiple brands under one organization. So they benefit from a lot of economies of scale. When you start talking about smaller concepts, typically, you just don't have the benefit of scale, and so these decisions from a tech standpoint can be really daunting and challenging. And I will tell you that when I joined Dig, we actually did have quite a bit of custom tech, and that might seem counterintuitive, but it was partially because the tech stack just wasn't as critical in the restaurant space, at least in fast casual pre-COVID. So much of the business was still dine-in, so it almost made more sense to just kind of build something custom because it wasn't as integral to the business. And obviously that's changed significantly. But at the same time, the other thing that's changed is a proliferation of restaurant-specific tech solutions. And so my tech counterpart has done a fantastic job over the last, call it 18 months. It's been a very long project to move us into more out of the box solutions. And we're just so excited by that because when you have custom tech, the pro is that you can make it exactly as you like. The con is that costs a lot from a dev standpoint. And if something goes wrong, it's kind of all on your in-house team. And so by partnering with existing and proven restaurant tech solutions, kind of have this whole support system and you're really sharing the economies of scales of other small restaurant chains using the same technology. So I'd say in this climate, buy is definitely the preferred option versus build.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you said improving and proven. I think both is right, because they're proven, but because there are many customers and there's a lot of feedback, and of course it's constant flow of innovation. You don't have to pay for, as if you would have,
Exactly.
if you would have it, if you would have it yourself. And do you see an opportunity of so how do you see the usage of marketing technology? Do you prefer to use it like centralized, or do you see that the technology became so easy to use that location managers can actually do part of the local marketing themselves?
That is a really good question, and not an easy one to answer. I think the answer is different for every organization. Dig, our concept is we pride ourselves on scratch cooking. I know a lot of people say that, but it really is true. All of our locations are run by chef operators. So we have quite a bit of bias towards letting chefs chef and really having them focus on the hospitality and the food quality within the four walls of their restaurant. So in exchange for that, our team tries to bear as much of the responsibility as possible on their behalf when it comes to local store marketing. We always have this debate even with things like Google reviews. Who should respond? Should it be the operator who kind of knows the exact dynamics of what happened in their restaurant, or should we manage it on their behalf? We've chosen to manage it on their behalf so that they can focus on their restaurant, but sometimes I may reach out and say, hey, this review was oddly specific about this situation, and get their input. Or I may reach out to them and say, hey, this customer is really upset. I think you should give them a call yourself. But for the most part, we try and manage it on their behalf unless there's an outlier. But I could certainly respect why some organizations choose to do it differently. There's no one answer.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you. Still, like multi-location companies that own all the locations, of course, want to have everything streamlined and under control because they value brand a lot, and it's all about the economies of scale and how
Brand
you
voice.
standardize the
Yeah.
standardized processes. On the other hand, of course, we know there is franchise where those organizations are actually by nature are forced to do distributed marketing, and of course that brings a lot
Right.
of challenges. But some of the locations, they just perform so well because they somehow find this recipe of being hyper contextualized and localized. I think we discussed this
Right.
case, bigger company that bought back, like it used to be a franchise, and then it went to centralized, and it bought out most of the locations, but some of them stayed franchise, and their marketing performance still stands out. uh,
Yes.
However, the standard level for all the others is much more even, and the average marketing performance of all location, of course, grew. So it's always this
Yeah.
type of like dilemma, and of course we work hard to make sure marketing technology will be as automated and as compliant on multiple levels, both on corporate and on location levels. So also centralized run organizations can rest assured
Yeah.
that local marketing is actually done locally, but the right way. Yes.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there are a lot of tools now and AI automation that help, at least that you don't even have to start from a blank slate, and you can even train it to make sure that it's within brand tone. And I think in the case that you described, the role of the franchisor in that situation is to be observing and creating case studies around which are the operators that are having the most success, and then sharing that with the rest of the system. Opportunity to showcase best in class execution.
And hopefully not just sharing the experience, but actually reverse engineering it and then kind of putting it into the AI that helps to enable locations. So, but that's at the moment kind of everyone's dream, but I think it's going to be fulfilled faster than we all think. And of course, like moving to the next part of our discussion. So it's actually Q&A, but maybe we can start with with the practical advice for operators. So what type of things? So you're now working really close with everyone, and I'm sure you know all of the operators, within your
Yes.
location company. So how do you collaborate? What works for them dealing with the challenges? What doesn't work? So maybe you can give some practical advice for operators.
Yeah, when I'm interacting with my operation counterparts and restaurant leaders, my role is to really listen for what are the themes around that are unique to their location. Are they near a college? Are they seeing that it's mostly families? And so then once I have those insights, then what are the right tactics to support them? And I will say that I think sometimes people want a magic bullet, right? When sales aren't where they need to be. But the truth is there isn't one. And the best path forward is just to start, and better to come up with, in a brainstorm, 10 ideas and just start trying them and coming up with quick learnings around what works and doesn't, than to wait for some, perfectly crafted strategy. So, there's been a couple instances over the last couple of years where we've had maybe a restaurant in particular that was underperforming, and my reaction in that is, well, let's get on the phone, let's brainstorm. Okay, let's come away with 10 things, and who's responsible for each one? Like, put a accountability lead on each tactic and manage it. So literally put it in an Excel file and even try and put some KPIs around it. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but how will we know we are successful? Example, hey, let's do fundraising. Okay, Bob, you're in charge of that tactic. How are you going to go run it down? Go find 10 schools, 10 hospitals, send them an email. We will feel successful if we do 3 fundraisers this season. And how much money did we donate? How many people do we think tried it? Let's do a promotional code for, the college around the corner. How many redemptions did we get? Just start bulleting out a list of tactics and try measuring them. And when something doesn't work, you cross it off the list, you fail fast. And by the end of a sprint like that, if you walk away with 3 proven tactics that you feel help move things in the right direction, then you found success. So that's my biggest suggestion, is just start and check in often. Create a weekly accountability meeting, and that's the only way that you'll really start to feel progress in the right direction, is trial and error, KPI setting, and accountability checkpoints.
You're muted, Max.
Yeah, thanks a lot, thanks a lot, Matthew. Yeah, so that really sounds like an advice for a startup, which the new locations actually are, and yeah, so better to try out and fail fast than rather than plan forever and go like overanalyze, and so decisiveness is the best strategy to speed up things. Yes.
I think that we have enough time here to hear from the audience. Can I get some questions, or will we have to sit here in silence again, as we did earlier?
Hey, Jessica, I had a question. It was 2 questions actually. The first one was with regards to attribution. How do you think about attribution? How do you use it? How important is it to you?
It's pretty important to me. So there were certain tactics that I may do that I believe drive awareness, but I don't have a great path to attribution. And so there will be a handful of those things, because just based off of years of experience, there are certain things that you just kind of know move the needle, but you can't quite measure. But it's really important to me to have a healthy balance of things that do. And so a case in point would be, I had a location in Harvard Square that was really struggling. And I started doing these trial days, and I did it at Harvard. They have like houses; they're kind of like dorms. And we started reaching out to these houses and saying, "Okay, today's your dig day. You get to come in. You get a discount off." And the problem was that I was doing it off of walk-in, and I wasn't really able to calculate how incremental it was, right? So then optimize that. And for the next wave, we started doing them as pickup codes. So then we at least had more traction of this email address came in on this promo code, but then I was able to track their repeat rate over time and prove out the ROI that it was worth it, that giving that free food actually drove not only conversion, but ultimately loyalty. So I do think that it's important to have a balance of kind of awareness tactics that are harder to measure, but also ones that you have a pretty clear line of sight to.
Yeah, that's actually really quite helpful. The other question I just had for you is with regards to just how noisy messaging is becoming. That people are just overwhelmed with a lot of noise. How are you thinking about that, and how do you get through that?
Oof, that's a great point. And I think that's the balance of, brand versus performance. So a lot of what we're talking about is more in terms of the actual conversion, but it's important to also invest time in making sure that you have a brand point of view that stands out. So there's two different ways to talk about discounts, right? I can talk to you about a BOGO, and so can 100 other brands. But if my brand tone allows me to say, you and a friend eat free, bad example, but finding those articulations that feel, dig for two maybe is a way of saying, okay, how do we do it in a way that feels unique and ownable to our brand? So always trying to make sure that we're not positioning discounts in a way that cheapens, but feels like an ownable point of difference. That's that balance between brand and performance that we're always trying to strike, or we're always trying to achieve.
Well, that's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I'm writing furiously. That it was phenomenal questions. We have about technically 10 minutes till our next session. Does anybody else in the audience have any burning questions? Don't be shy.
If nobody else says, I have another one actually. I was wondering if you could maybe speak to a little bit about how your methodology of marketing has evolved over the past years. Like, how are you changing in terms of how you think about the way to do your job?
Yeah, I love that topic. One thing is focusing on top of funnel. And so, one of the things that I learned when I joined this business, I mentioned briefly household awareness. So there was a study that the team had done that showed that we had relatively low household awareness in our core market in New York City. When I tell my colleagues in my brand that, they're surprised. And it's because we all have this proximity bias that the people around us, oh yeah, I know Dig. Well, that's because they're people similar to you that fit our profile. But when you think about New York City, there are 5 million adults in New York City. So what percentage of them know about our brand, have tried our brand, have tried it more than twice, consider it to be in their top 4? You start to whittle that down. It's a very narrow group of folks. And I think a lot of marketing theory focuses on trying to get those hundreds of thousands of people to repeat one more time. But man, the truth is how brands grow is by focusing on getting those 5 million people to try once. And it's hard to do that. And it's a lot cheaper to convert a loyal fan into one more visit. But it really is about top of funnel awareness. And so that changes the way that I talk about my brand when I focus on top of funnel, because I believe if I get more people in to try, the loyalty will follow. So if I talk about my menu in language like, hey, come try the new winter menu, who does that really speak to? It speaks to the bottom of the funnel, because in order to be excited about my winter menu, you have to know that, oh, Dig launches a new seasonal menu every 3 months, and I love Dig, and therefore I'm going to love the next thing on the menu. So this winter, we talked about try our new crispy chicken. That's a different way of talking that is more broadly appealing to whether you've tried Dig or not. You're seeing this really craveable chicken, come on in and try it. And then how do I do as many trial driving tactics as possible to get people in the restaurant? So I'm a big advocate for focusing on top of funnel over frequency.
What would you say, like one super tactile, maybe it's something like influencer marketing or something that you've done that's a top of funnel activity that everybody in the audience can take away from? Could be something guerrilla, could be something traditional, just something very tangible that they could take with their. Pause.
To build off of that specific example, so one of the things that we did was for that winter launch is we did crispier hour. Again, to this point about how do I break through all the noise. So I wanted people to come and try our new crispy chicken. So what I did was between the hours of 2 and 5, I did a promotion where you can try the crispy chicken on any dig bowl for only $5. Now I put it during a window off peak where it wasn't going to cannibalize too much of my business, but it definitely drove incremental business. And in terms of how I calculated that, as I looked at the sales during that window in the weeks prior versus that promo period and saw the lift there. So that's just an example is trial, right? Is, hey, I want people to come in and try this. How can I lower the barrier? Well, here's a discount that you have to come in and try it during this very particular period. It was 1 hour on one day just to get people in the door to try a new product.
I'm hearing a lot of accountability, right? Earlier you spoke about if you're trying to make change, putting one person in charge of it and then just actually doing those things. And the same could be said, I think, about the trial. So I think that is very very, smart goals, right? We all hear about them, but I think with that point, Max, do you have any closing remarks for the session?
I actually have one more question. I just need to ask it because we touched the data question and the analysis of the funnel. So, and I see that more and more companies and brands, they are like just visiting those conventions and events. Most of the speeches are, of course, about AI, but also on how to generate quality data, how to use more data in making marketing decisions, how to make sure you can get like some actionable insights from the data. So are there any other examples on how you could generate data and use it for your decisions? So what type of KPIs, what type of data sources do you use in your day-to-day work or maybe in a planning?
Yeah, I mean, everyone at least has the benefit of their sales data, I would hope. And so at a minimum, I think there's a lot of richness in just even looking at sales, which items perform best, which day parts, which channels, all of those insights are at a minimum. And then on top of that, to the comment around, tech stack, there are a lot of other tools that can help take that data to the next level. Loyalty is a great one. I mean, the real reason why everyone does loyalty is because it gives you first party data about your customers in a longitudinal manner. So we use Thanks as our loyalty partner, and I'm able to see a lot of really rich insights through that data. So I'd say, lean into your tech stack for those insights, and also, don't be afraid to really be quite insistent with them about walk me through it, help me to understand it, extract as much value from those relationships as possible, because they have a lot of resources on their end. And if you are insistent, they often are willing to help you more than you might realize. But even if you don't have all of that, just spending time in the sales, the sales numbers can be quite insightful as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And maybe last question is about the future plans. So what are the midterm and long-term things that you have in mind and that inspire you? Because I see that like more connection to locations and to operators inspires you a lot. So you see how your advice and what things you do, the things that you do are actually helping them, and you feel like your decisions move the needle. But what's the big goal and midterm, long-term goals that are inspiring you?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love what we do. I love this business. I think there's something so amazing about the power of food and how it can bring folks together. In terms of our goals, it's to scale. So looking forward to putting, more units into the ground over the next several years, and to continue to build the brand love that we've just kind of started to percolate in Manhattan to new markets as well. But I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm happy to continue the conversation with anybody who maybe didn't want to ask a question in this format. Feel free to reach out. Happy to chat this anytime.
Yeah, thanks a lot for joining. It was a privilege to have you. Thanks for sharing all the advice. And yeah, like the whole America needs dig as fast as possible. So hope you scale faster than you.
Especially Florida, right, Jessica? We're coming to Florida next.
We're all agreed on that. Yeah.
Yes. So that's the next market we're entering. If anybody in the audience is in Florida. So please guys connect with these people. They're a wealth of knowledge. Seriously, take advantage of it. Only, you know, in these franchising types of communities do you get to speak directly to industry leaders. I mean, it's not common. So please take advantage of it. And with that, a massive thank you, big hugs.